And this word is called quilip. So quilip, and what I'm going to do actually, because I'm a settler trying to say a word with a language that I don't have natural, I'm going to repeat it, so this is the correct version. Quilip, right? So the sound of that is quilip, because it comes from little dust storms that disturb all the stuff on the ground, and they raise it up, and it's all chaotic, and then it falls down, and when it falls down, newness happens, something grows, something changes. So the idea of quilip is that's how you learn. You get into chaos, you get like my first class, go, holy shit, what's going on here? And then you start to settle, and you go, oh, wait a minute, right? I'm realizing learning isn't like I normally experience, there's something else going on here. So quilip will capture you, how you learn in my class. You have lots of quilips. So if you go into here, this was built in 2010, and the idea is to create a safe space for Indigenous people to communicate on land here, but also to invite settlers in. And as a place to try and help the university get away from sort of this competition around everything. Go in here with an open heart, go in here ready to change, go in here to put in your best effort. That's the goal of this Indigenous or First Nations people's home, right? So that's, if you get invited in, that exists. Make sense? Yeah, Mandy.
We mainly just touched on the first one, decolonization, and kind of just about how it's about bringing down barriers that were brought up by colonizers and don't really speak to the Indigenous people, and just about locating those barriers and making sure we change them so they align in the future.
Cool, that's a great start, I like that. What about indigenization? What does that mean? What could that mean? Yeah.
I think just replacing that whole structure with just kind of like the circular learning, things that we can learn from them and grow.
So that's great, that builds really nicely on what Maddie said, because it's recognizing the issue, but then realizing the issue is not us helping them, it's actually the other way around. If you actually embrace the Indigenous cultures that lived for over 4,000 or 5,000 years on this land, have a language system and custom, have come to understand how to learn from the land, could that not help us in our understanding of how we should be learning in schools? So how you bring that about in school when you're a white settler, you have to change some of your attitudes and understandings. You have to come to know the land better. So one of the things I should challenge you to do is think about where you've come from. I'm assuming in Canada, but you can go anywhere in the world because I do not come from Canada. And is there any Indigenous knowledge that you could draw on from where you've come up to share with people? Plus, when you go to work somewhere, how can you find out some Indigenous knowledge about the land, some of the customs, to bring into your curriculum? Because that means you're indigenizing and decolonizing. And then when you do that, let me know what TRC is. Riley?
TRC stands for the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and it was a report that was generated in 2015 that highlighted calls to action that the Canadian government and settlers could make in terms of pursuing reconciliation with Indigenous peoples and repairing wrongs that have been done from time immemorial.
So recognizing those wrongs, and what's interesting, 2015 was the same year that BCB Design Curriculum was launched. And guess what? It's an act of parliament now, you have to teach Indigenous ways of knowing in your curriculum. Riley, you wanted to make an additional comment?
Yeah, I just want to make a point acknowledging that decolonization is something that people of all heritage and ethnicities can engage in, whereas indigenization basically focuses on the resurgence of Indigenous peoples and their sovereignty and their culture. So as settlers, it's really important, at least me personally as a settler, that you navigate that with grace and with intention and respect, and understand that by decolonizing, we're making spaces for Indigenous resurgence to occur, and working in collaboration with Indigenous peoples. So
I'm going to share another term. So the first one was quilip. This one is creth. So creth says you're responsible for the learning, but you're responsible for your peers' learning before your own. You're responsible for the learning, but you're responsible for your peers' learning before your own. So I want you to think creth and quilip. If you combine those two things, how would you do that as a physical health educator? How would they affect your way of teaching? How would they affect the way in which you would value learning? What else? As you were talking, creth and quilip.
I think it's a really nice circle. Like I think when you hold space for someone else to learn, like we often learn through experimentation and like telling what we're learning, But if we hold space for someone else to do that, then we also have the chance to listen and we learn.
Brilliant.
Right?
We go do ourselves, we operate in a way better way. Because we're processing not just the movement, but the person in the context doing the movement. And we're doing all of that before we go in the context ourselves. Superior way of learning. Right. And go! They are cougars. I can tell. Excellent. The pounce was good. I'll give you 2 points. A bit more movement would have been excellent, but that was definitely a 2-pointer. I'm going to give that a 3, mainly because Will really got down there. Cameras on, go! Oh, I like, actually, Joe gave contrast. That was good. 3 points. Excellent. Kamukasha. Right, and Kamukasha means the felt energy of group attunement. The felt energy of group attunement. We just experienced right now, but all the way up, right? I'm building up for this so that you feel comfortable, you trust each other, you're going to let yourself go, and you feel part of a team that also gives you that group attunement. So then your effort now is not about individual, it's about my team, and then it's about my class. And so the whole idea is that group energy starts to run the class into Mystic Vale. And once you get down to the bottom, I just want you to get in a circle in the meeting space that the Kwangan people over 4,000 years used to meet in that same space. All right? So we're going down. I'd like to share what came to mind as you were descending, exploring your senses. All right, just turn to someone next to you. Just tell them what happened for you.
I used to bring my dog here. That's all I remember, sorry. I can't really remember once when I did a nature walk. Oh, really? Yeah. We talked about different kinds of trees. What kinds of trees are there here? The native trees. Yep, the fir tree. I remember really liking it.
It's got a curse on it called Indigenous people because it's always freezing cold. And the curse, I don't know if it's a curse, maybe it's an interpretation, but if you come late at night, there's a full moon, and look in the reflection in this pool, you'll see your one true love. That's meant to be a very old Indigenous saying about this. Hobbs Creek, which can't be its name because that is definitely not a colonial name. I mean, an Indigenous name, but that's Hobbs Creek, as we know. And part of the worry is the Kwangan people don't know the name, right? It's being wiped out. This is from Lorna. Kakitla. Kakitla means learning through stillness, learning by listening to yourself. That we're just through being stillness, we allow the Quilip to settle and then find newness in that moment where we're not trying to think about something all the time. We've got Quilip, we've got Kamukula, we've got Katil, we've got Kweth, right? Taking all those 4 words and thinking, okay, how are those 4 words being used by Dr. Hopper in 352?
We're engaging with other people that we don't normally do, and we're explaining our experiences and how we view certain areas.
Nice, and that's continuously interconnecting you, right? So I'm looking at like this as I've got to find ways of making you connect with everybody in class. That felt energy of group attunement, that's a critical element. But in doing that, the energy is also information. Energy passes on ideas, and more ideas that circulate, the more you grow, not because of what I'm saying, but because other people are saying something that connects really well to what you just experienced. And that's the growth element, right? About. So camouflage helps people break away from what inhibitions they sort of bring on themselves. It changes that attitude. But it also connects us to nature. They tried to shut this down in 1997. They're going to develop it. People came out in throngs. People who've been kids who played in this space came out to say, no way are you developing this space. So part of it is finding ways as PE teachers to help kids reconnect to the land, because they will become adults that will look and become the stewards of that land.